former Regina Ram player and head coach Frank McCrystal enters the Canadian Football Hall of Fame Friday, September 19th in Hamilton, along with 5 outstanding CFL players, offensive linemen, 2 of them, Brian Chu of Montreal and former BC Lion Jovan Olafoyu, wide receiver Jermaine Copeland, who played in Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal, defensive back Scott Flagel, he was a hard hitter of the Blue Bombers, along with linebacker and former Stampeder Daryl Hall. Frank enters the Hall in the Builders category, along with Glenn Johnson. He's a CFL legend, on-field official for 24 years, and was later the man in charge of CFL officiating before entering the soccer business. And I'm going to see how Frank reacts, with his smile when I say this. He was one of the toughest, hardest hitting linebackers the Rams ever had out of Campion High School for 5 years. And there'd be pileups. Frank would get up, and some other guy on the other team wouldn't get up quite often. Frank won't admit it, but he was one tough cookie when he played for the Regina Rams. And after his playing days ended, what's that?
I don't know about that, Don.
Well, I do, because I watched
some pretty tough guys.
Well, that's true. There's just a lot of tough guys in that Ram linebacking core over the years, to say the least. Anyway, then Frank started a 36-year coaching career with the Rams. He never missed one single practice. That's amazing. We'll have to talk about that later. In 1984, Frank became the head coach of the Rams while they were still playing junior football. He won 7 Canadian Bowls in his first 15 years as the head man. It seemed like there was always banquets because the Rams kept winning so many national championships. There were like so many of them. In 1999, Frank, of course, still coached the Rams when they entered what is now called U Sports, representing the University of Regina. A year later, Frank led the U of R to the Vanier Cup, losing a heartbreaker to Ottawa. Well, the Rams, they got close this past year, but that's the only Vanier so far that the Rams have been in. Frank has won 3 Coach of the Year awards, 2 in junior, 1 in university. He retired after the 2014 season and entered the Regina Sports Hall of Fame with one of his best friends, Bernie Schmidt, in 2021. That's a long intro, Frank, but that's the way it is. That's what you did when a guy's been 42 years, or 41, with an organization. It's a long intro.
Yeah, you hang around long enough, I guess, eh? Yeah. It was kind of funny because I had some great messages from some Hilltops, if you can imagine. A guy named Kevin Scott that was actually, I played against him. Mm-hmm. We were about the same age, and I played against him when I was with the Rams, and he was with the Hilltops and coached against him. He was the head coach of the Hilltops in 1985 when they won the Canadian Championship. So it was kind of cool that he reached out to me and congratulated me. And it was Blake Bittner from Moose Jaw, who was a Hilltop, and Gene Mikowski, who you guys, any football guys know, who was a U of S Husky, that they all reached out and congratulated me. And I thought that was pretty cool and pretty nice.
That's the beauty of sports, isn't it? I mean, now the Hilltops are the big rival of the Thunder. I remember the rivalry. There's some legendary stories, including about you, Frank, about the rivalry you guys used to have with the Hilltops. And it was, I hate to use the word hate, but I think it was in the equation at times. Tell me about those days. Was it sort of like hockey, where it was sort of wilder and crazier back in those days, these rivalries?
Yeah, I think it may have been. I know that we went into university, they talked about us in Manitoba, and in fact the U of S too. But in my experience with the things that I was involved with, the Hilltop Ram thing was pretty intense. Is a pretty intense thing, and I think it ended up obviously making each team better. And certainly we split a lot of Canadian championships over the years between the two teams. And, it ended up, I think as you kind of remove yourself a little bit more from it, and maybe even during, I think there's certainly a respect for each program. They had some great players and great coaches, and, like I mentioned, Kevin Scott and Dave Hardy and, and then the Sarge, Tom Sargent now, who I had a great relationship with. He we played against him in junior in 1998, and then he stayed, obviously the Hilltops. He stayed coaching the Hilltops, but recruited a lot of players from the Hilltops to play with the Rams when they went to university. So great relationship. Really respect those guys, and I think that we, like I said, I suggested, made each other better.
Now, you were with the Rams like a mind-boggling 41 years. Where's Tom Sargent? Is he going to beat your record? I mean, he's been there so long himself.
He's been there a long time. He's got to be pretty close to that. The Sarge, he's got to be pretty close to that. And the thing about the junior football is those guys are not paid. That, like the Sarge, he was a teacher and a vice principal and a principal, and he goes out and each night and coaches football. I'm sure they practice when the Rams used to practice, and in some instances still do in the evenings. So, I mean, it's a long haul, and you don't get paid to do it. It's just something that you believe in. So, yeah. The Sarge is he's got to be pretty close to 40 if he isn't there already.
Well, after all of those years, are you going to say something?
He's at 33.
33. Oh, he may not beat you.
He's 33.
Thank you, Colson
he may not
Schultz,
make
for
it
that.
then.
Yeah. Well, you never know. But I don't know how anybody. What's that? I don't know how anybody could beat 41 years. Anyway, now there's so much. There's almost too many names to mention, I would think, Frank, after that many years. You were known for great speeches, including one you had to do on the field in BC once. I remember that something happened. I can't remember the story, but you were actually, quite an orator. And so many players would say, well, Frank got us charged up at halftime, and then you came back and won. So what was the key to your speeches, and can you apply that now to your acceptance speech in Hamilton?
Well, a couple things. It's funny because guys say, when I see them years later, like guys like Marco Risi and Corey Borson, these guys, they're in their 50s, and some guys are into their 60s already.
Yeah.
And they say, I remember when you said this, and I remember when you said that, and I go, that's cool, because I don't remember saying that. So I really I don't know. Yeah, people suggest that, but I don't know. And in terms of applying it to an acceptance of this award, I think it's really I'm feeling a little awkward and a little anxious about it, to be quite honest with you, Don, because it's really a we award, and it's not a me award. It's so many people contributed so much over the years, and you mentioned one of them, Bernie Schmidt, who was with me for almost all of that time. He might be at 38 years or something with the Rams instead of 41, but I mean it's been so many people contributed, and a good friend of both you and myself, Doug McKillop. Like, he's still involved with the Rams, and so you've got directors and you've got coaches, and through their efforts, you have the good fortune of attracting great players. And, those great players could be anyone from, John Ryan and Jason Claremont and Brendan Labatt, the guys like Akeem Hicks that you bring out of the States, and then some of the unsung heroes, like a guy that they don't talk about very much, but was just an unbelievable player for us, as a Corey Olnick, that played through the 90s and late 90s and into the university. So, I think the efforts of so many people to create an environment and a program, not just a team, but a program that allows and provides opportunity for people to realize their potential and to seek out greater potential, or that potential that they didn't know they had, I think is a real tribute to the program as a whole. And that's what my hope is to communicate when I am at this awards ceremony that they're going to have in September.
I was just walking through the U of R the other day for the first time in 40 years. I flunked out of the U of R, by the way. I'll come clean. And I remember, boy, I never opened up a book the whole time I was there. But there's a huge mural there now, Frank, with players that went right to the NFL from the Regina Rams, 5 of them. You were involved with all of them. Tell me if I've missed anybody. Tavon Campbell, who's first with the Riders now, John Ryan, Brett Jones, Akeem Hicks, and Stephon Charles. That's the 5, right? I haven't missed anybody?
Yes, yeah.
So
that's the 5. And I mean,
how did you do that?
Amazing.
How did you pull that off?
Well, we had some great players. And I mean, another guy that would have been there is Brendan Labatt. But Brendan Labatt, they wanted to sign him with the Raiders, and then they had the strike that year. And so Brendan said, you know what, I'm gonna stay here in the CFL. But Brendan Labatt he would have played in the NFL. Absolutely. I agree. No question. So I mean, the thing is, we had some really good players and some players that were capable and able to play at that level. But you can't be shy about it. You've got to pursue and promote. I mean, I phoned the Senior Bowl. I can't remember the name of the guy that was running the Senior Bowl at that time, about John Ryan, and say, and the guy was really good. And he said, you know what, Coach, I appreciate you calling, and we'll keep it in mind to have a Canadian here, but we've already got the punting position filled. And then, Johnny Ryan goes on to have an unbelievable career in the NFL and a Super Bowl and so forth. Mm-hmm. But I think you just got to pursue it and promote your players and believe in yourself, and I think be honest too. I mean, I'm not gonna send a guy and talk about a guy that can't play or that I'm not sure can play. Yeah. But if you keep doing it, and then they get noticed. Stephon Charles ended up in the NFL as much as anything because they knew Akeem Hicks, and so they're watching film, videotape, and they see Akeem and they go, "Well, who's this kid?" Well, it's Stephon Charles. And then, when Brett Jones was coming out, talked about Brett Jones to these guys and said, "Hey, he played at the same time." And I talked to Akeem and said, "What do you think, Akeem?" And he says, "For sure, Brett can play in the NFL." So I think you got to talk about it, and you got to believe in yourself and believe in your players and be honest with the people that make those decisions, and certainly some of them miss the boat, on things like that. Like we talk about the Riders. I mean, the Riders, they miss Brendan Labatt, John Ryan, Brett Jones. I'm not bad-mouthing the Riders at all. I'm just saying that sometimes, in fact, the guys that made those decisions at that time are not there anymore, but they missed Jason Claremont. Man, I mean, and, they missed him. Some of the guys that were making the decisions at that time missed him twice, So he's a terrific, those guys are terrific players, but you got to believe in them and you got to promote them, and you have to be straight and honest with the people.
Well, some of these players that you sent to the NFL made millions. Well, they all did because it's the NFL. It's too bad you didn't get a cut there, Frank. A little bit. How about 5% or something?
There's an agent named Frank Murtha that dealt with a couple of the players, Akeem and Brett. And he got the cut. I didn't get the cut. I got a jersey. I got a jersey from the New Orleans Saints, and and when I finished coaching, they always wanted me to go down and watch them, but I couldn't get down there when I was coaching because of the season, and then because of recruiting and everything else. Yeah. So, when I finished coaching, I said, I'll go and watch you guys. And so I did go, and they gave me a ticket. So I got into the NFL game.
Instead of a pile of money, you got a ticket. That's, exactly. I mean, you had so many great junior teams, phenomenal. But I remember the 2000 Vanier Cup, like it was yesterday, everybody cheering for the Rams against Ottawa, GG's. Yeah. And the gutsy effort that some of your players made in that game that were quite badly, in some cases injured. Maybe talk about that. Like there was guys that were really gutting that game out, weren't there?
Well, and it was really a challenge that season, that whole season. And you have to appreciate when we went into from junior football to university football, we were playing against guys. For example, that year, St. Mary's, they had a bunch of guys from junior football in the West. Blake Nill was the coach, and he recruited a bunch of guys from the Huskies and so forth, from the Edmonton Huskies junior team. And we were playing guys that we had played 3 and 4 years before. We had young guys, and we were playing guys. We played against guys that were into their early 30s, and we had Jason Claremont. I think Jason was about 20 then, and Neil Hughes was 19. They were unbelievable players and tough guys. And then so not only did we have to travel and win these games, but the traveling from here out of Regina, as anybody will know that wants to go any place, is pure hell. And I think as much as anything, we just got about 3 points tired, and that's what caused us to not get that game done, that Vanier Cup. But man, we really those young guys really did gut it out. And I think there was one year, for example, there was a lot of whining going on from some of the university coaches back at that time. And there was one year that the team that won the Vanier Cup had an older average age than the Indianapolis Colts, who won the Super Bowl.
Oh, I believe it. So, back in that era,
yeah,
yes,
it was.
I agree.
It was pretty crazy,
Yeah.
But those young guys, man, like I said, Neil Hughes runs back a punt and a kickoff against St. Mary's in the Atlantic Bowl. Jason Claremont catches a 2-point convert with a broken collarbone. Like these guys are really, really special guys.
One game I really remember fondly is when you took on the Alberta Golden Bears when you were a junior team and beat them. You beat a university team as a junior team. And I remember everybody saying this is a joke. I mean, across the country, not so much here in Regina because people knew your reputation, but across the country, they thought it was a joke. And then you beat the Golden Bears. Tell us about that memory, because that was like shocking to many people across the country.
Yeah, I mean, they were the number 1 ranked university team in the country when we played them. It was early in September. And we had bumped into Jim Donlevy, who was their head coach, who was a really good guy and was a guy that always tried to promote football across the country. And I bumped into him we were at a football conference, coaching clinic, that kind of thing. And he said, we should have a game. And I go, yeah, I think that's not a bad idea. And,
that's crazy.
We brought him, we paid for him to come to Taylor Field, and they were really a good football team. I think the first punt, our first punt, they ran back for a touchdown, and it got called back. And I was just thinking, finally, we have the referees on our side. So it was interesting. But we beat them 22-18, and we really took it to them physically, and it was pretty special. It was, that we had done that. And interestingly enough, in 1985, we lost the Prairie Football Conference final to the Hilltops, and they went on to win the Canadian Championship.
Well, it's a very historic moment when you took on Alberta. Now, your bust, the bust that they make for the Hall of Fame, is eternal. It will sit in the Hall of Fame till eternity, or else the world blows up, one of the two. Are you nervous about, are they going to screw up the bust on you? Because it's going to be there for hundreds of years.
I don't know, man. Like Mark Mueller said, they have to have it with a toque and a mustache. So I don't know. They told me about that, and I had a guy I think you know him too, Jim Gallagher. They wanted
Yes.
pictures of my head, and so Jim Gallagher is a very, very talented character,
Yes.
and so I had him come over and he takes pictures, and we send them off and make sure. And it was, yeah. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous about the unveiling of my head,
Yeah.
So I guess we'll see what happens, but anyway.
Well, what an honor. I mean, whoever thought this would ever end up like this, Frank? I mean, such a prestigious Canadian Football Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that. And I know Doug McKillop apparently said he's coming down with your entourage. So I just hope Doug doesn't screw something up or act foolish.
I hope he doesn't. Sometimes he pretty much, when I'm around him, he pretty does what I tell him to do. So I'll make sure I look after him. And now the other guy, Paul Barnaby's going, and Ed Bankowski is going, and my family's going. The only guy I'm concerned about is Paul Barnaby, because he never listens to anybody. So,
no, that's trouble. That's big time trouble.
Yes.
But I'm the number one guy, other than your family, that I'm glad is going is Bernie Schmidt, because Bernie and you are just, I don't know. There's something about you two guys together.
Yeah, we've been together such a long time, and I'm really glad. Like I said at the beginning of this, it's a we award, not a me award. And Bernie, initially was not sure. He says, "Man, I don't want to go and steal your thunder, or it's your award." I go, "No, man, it's our award, Bernie, and it's really important." And the alumni, the Rams alumni, is making sure that Bernie's there. So
that's very good.
It's really a statement about the team and about the program, and how important Bernie was to our program. Yeah,
and like you led the team, Frank, a great confidence, but also great humility, and that's why you were so great. Thanks for joining us on SportsCage. Frank, SportsCage continues in just a moment.